Hi, it's Steve and Joe from Freshagenda. We're back again to have a bit of a chat about the upcoming Global Dairy Directions update. That's what you're working on at the moment, right, Steve?
Yeah, we're doing a quarterly outlook. We do a big piece every quarter, so we're just about finished that. We'll push that out hopefully later this week, and there's plenty in there.
So, Steve, one of the big factors affecting the market's attitude, which is fairly bearish at the moment, is what's happening with supply around the world.
Well, supply in most regions is now ahead of where it was last year, and so that is going to weigh on the outlook a bit. So milk production growing at various speeds, but I guess the biggest concern is in New Zealand, and also I guess the size of the rebound in Europe.
So, nice segue to the European Union and what's happening there. We are seeing that growth returning. What's that doing in terms of factors like product mix, intervention, that kind of thing?
Sure. Good question, Joanne. So there's plenty to look at in Europe because we're seeing milk come back into growth. We're looking at where that's going. The critical issue is how much skim milk powder is produced, how much butter comes along. As you know, there's an acute butter shortage that everyone knows about. And in that work, we're looking at what is the likely swing towards skim milk powder and butter, or away from that mix, as we go further into a growth phase later in 2017 and into 2018.
Is it likely that some of that very severe supply shortage for butter is going to be alleviated by someone like, say, New Zealand?
There is a window of opportunity, it seems, for New Zealand to perhaps be part of the solution to bring down price in the short term. It's whether they can get there in time. We're just showing a nice little chart there where we've added up the price signals out there at the moment. So we can see that the European price is obviously much higher in the short term. The futures market is pricing in. This won't go away quickly. It won't go away until the early part of next year, but then it slides fairly strongly. Against that's the futures outlook and the price signals in New Zealand for butter, and there is a window of time. So if you add up that New Zealand price plus tariff plus getting it there is a window until the first quarter next year, and then it shuts. So that's just putting some more work around that as to the likelihood that they may extend. Then you get into a new European spring season, and what does that bring as well? So, in a very complex mix, but a lot of people wanting to know, how quickly that butter price comes down, so it's more affordable.
So across the other side of the Atlantic, in the US, milk production just keeps chugging along. But what's happening with demand over there?
Cheese demand has moved around a bit. That juggernaut of food service couldn't keep churning along so fast, so that slowed down a bit. We are, however, still seeing pretty robust demand for cheddar, and that's keeping the industry a bit positive, though looking forward, prices are pretty flat. So a bit of uncertainty about how long that persists and just how strong the economy is going to be. And I guess the other big thing with the US is, can Mexico keep buying as much powder? So that's surged in late 2016. It's been a good year so far this year. Will that repeat later in the year? And that's certainly part of the solution to all that milk.
Sure. Mexico's also been looking at other sources as well, maybe to keep the Yanks honest.
Yeah, they'll play the game, but America is very focused on cheap product. So whoever's got the best deal will be the best supplier.
So, Steve, just to wrap up, what's happening with demand and trade? What are you looking at this quarter?
So there's been some big recent surges in trade, particularly skim milk powder, and you can see how much that's shot away here, just showing that the last 3 months trend, that skim has been soaked up at good prices. What's the capacity for that to continue? Can cheese keep roaring along how it has been? There's some of the things we're looking at, and in particular how the different prices of the powders might weigh on some buying regions, given the opportunity to substitute into fat filled, which is still there for some. So yeah, an interesting outlook. Plenty to wrap up there and put that into a concise picture, and as I said, we'll have that out inside the next week.
Great.
Okay, well that's a wrap. Thanks for viewing. If you've stuck with this, we'll be back next week.